forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Hi Mario, hi Syria. How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. So let's start with today's questions in the new year. What we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So our first question is anonymous user asks, when reviewing a profile for the first time, what signals tell you that EB1A is strategically viable versus premature, and how can someone improve that gap?
It's a very kind of a brilliant question. It's not about improving the gap actually. If it is kind of, let me put it this way, like today we had one achiever actually. Okay, she has been one of the very promising cases. Everything very good, everything fine. Now, please understand, EB1A is it depends on three. There are three dimensions of success for EB1A. The first is your own expertise, in a way that whether you have been able to identify your expertise properly or not, whether you have been able to reach to a, are you a person of a caliber that has reached the top of your field or not? What are the evidences that you have demonstrated? What is your progressive experience and what has been the impact of that? Now, so this is the degree of your expertise that you kind of have to prove. I mean, that's the kind of the objective. But at the same time, there are additional dimensions which are there, which is in addition to your expertise, is there how much you understand about EB1A and how to present your case. Now, almost we would have out of all our 56 achievers as on today, we would see that there are people, almost 50 to 60% of them would not have thought that they can get closer to getting EB1A. Now, for them, it's a different thing. They have to start building up their profile and everything. But the question is not pertaining to that. The question is when you look at a profile for the first time, what signals tells you that? And that signal is what is the impact of your work actually. It's not about how much you are earning. It's not about how much is your what is your qualification. We have seen the best people from Ivy Leagues or IIT IIMs, people from the best universities getting the best job may not be ready actually. The signal that somebody is ready and kind of this thing, maybe they would not need us in that sense. Okay, I mean then they would look for a lawyer to gather evidences and place it. But we have had people who were hungry for learning and who wanted to kind of do a lot of things much beyond what they feel they have achieved, and they wanted to strengthen their own cases. So the first signal is that how hungry are you actually to learn and unlearn. I mean, that's something which is very. We have seen people who are 26-year-olds getting EB1A. We have seen people who are 50-year-old getting EB1A. But at the same time, we have seen people who are from the best of the best schools, even having approved 8 to 10 criteria approved, still getting rejected. People getting $1 million salary still getting rejected. Ordinarily, it would be a counterintuitive to see. Oh, somebody is getting $1 million salary. Oh, so it means that he's ready for EB1A. Otherwise, why would somebody pay? There would be certain success. But again, then the other dimensions in terms of understanding your EB1A and learning how to present yourself would come in actually. So I would say that I think this is a too fast a question. It's a too it's a to an extent that this becomes infructuous because there is always something always in waiting actually, something that a person needs to always top up. Nobody would be an absolutely ready unless and until of course you got a Nobel Prize, or unless you have reached a pinnacle of your field, you are a superstar, or you are a kind of a best in your, you have got some Olympic medal or something like this, you are, you would never, nobody would say that I am extraordinary. So, but yet there are certain signals, as I mentioned, which are more on the softer side than the mere expertise. Intellectual prowess is not the only thing that can help you to get in. There are a lot of other factors that play a major role, and we look for those factors. Whether professional standards of a person, the coachability of the person, or whether person can commit time for himself. So these are the things that I would say are more prone to helping people getting EB1A than just mere intellectual prowess or some kind of a signal to say, oh, that person is EB1A strategically ready for that. But I think if it is a matter of some viability, then I think we again come back to the basic thing, whether the person is coachable or not, whether the person can commit time or not. Somebody says, no, I can't commit time, then it's a red flag. Somebody's professional standards are not up to the mark, the LinkedIn profile is not ready, then there is a kind of a red flag actually. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Of course. So another aspirant asks, how do you help candidates identify their true area of expertise when their experience in, when their experience expands multiple roles or industries?
It's a beautiful question actually, because defining the expertise is the core part here. Because you are looking at the role or the industry as one of the critical factors to define expertise, you're looking at it. But I'm not looking at it multiple roles. Sometimes what it takes, what expertise it takes to perform the role is also equally important here. Now, I will give you two illustrations. One, I will give you my own example, and I will give you somebody from the program that should bring home a point actually. We had a gentleman who was a logistics software engineer in a kind of a logistics company, let's put it that way. And his job was to find out the best routes actually for the drivers. Okay. Now, when we want to find out the best route, there are a lot of skills required to make that happen. It is not just about the area, about the geography, about the technology, about the software, about the knowledge that integrates all these things put together is important. But there is something a lot more, because the routes are created or established using satellites. And he was using an API using satellites, so that it was finally the expertise was defined as geospatial software engineering. Now, similarly, in my case, I was a CEO for Financial Planning Standards Board, running a non-profit organization. Before that, I was the director of one of the leading business schools. Before that, I used to sell mutual funds. I was the HR head also actually here for some time now. Holistically, I mean, there were a lot of skills that were being used: people management skills, education, teaching, learning, financial literacy, financial education. Now, these were the skills that were being used in financial planning. So, eventually, my own expertise was financial education. Now, the moment you put across a financial, you don't have to. Many people were telling me, "Oh, your expertise could be investment expert, could be a financial planning expert," but that could have been a fatal for me actually. So the best expertise that was identified as financial educationist. And this is how an expertise is defined by virtue of your work, what it takes to grow up that expertise, and what skills that you are using it, what knowledge you are bringing it on the table. And second way, there is also another way in which you kind of reverse engineer based on the impact. It's much more complicated, but that's the way it is actually. Okay, so we have a proprietorship kind of by virtue of a patent actually, which is called the done process, which is define, organize, nurture, and execute. We follow the defining of your expertise. You have to do one has to do some exercises, and those exercises, when they're neatly calibrated, we create that. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next one, they ask, which EB1A criteria are most commonly misunderstood, and how do strong cases typically reframe them correctly?
A very nice question, actually. I think the most misunderstood criteria today and always historically has been original contribution. People feel that something that you have done for the first time is original in a company, that too. And keeping that original contribution restricted it to the company is something which people feel is the most important. Now, the question here is, how do you reframe it properly by defining the originality? How that work is original? What makes it original? Second is that what is the parameter or metrics for that significance? And how do you define that field? where it is significance actually. And significance has major significance would have two impact: qualitative impact and quantitative impact, application as well as in terms of academic. If there is no academic sense to that, it would not make any purpose actually. So one has to look it from all the angles and all the perspectives here. If one does that, then it is good actually. So I think one of the most misunderstood criteria which I have always seen is original contribution. And another interesting thing about original contribution is that I'm yet to see a single case where original contribution has been approved, yet the case is rejected. It would never happen. So I would always suggest to go for that criteria if you can, and you must, and that would be best for you. Okay. So let's move to the next.
The next question is, what type of evidence tends to look strong on paper but actually weaken a petition if not positioned correctly?
I think this question also comes from a premises that that petition is dependent on the criteria.
Okay.
Petition is not dependent on the criteria; it is dependent on the impact. So any criteria for that matter, if you are not going to show the impact of that work that you have done, it would. So, for example, you got an award. For what you got the award, and what happened after you got the award? Number two, you are talking about a membership. What you did after the membership, what was the impact of that membership in your professional career or otherwise? That is important. Third, let's talk about your article. What happened after you published an article? What happened to that article? Oh, you got citations. Wonderful. Who cited it? That would be number three. Like this, you have to get into layers of that actually. Evidence that look strong, because I think the criteria gets misunderstood. You represent it or you misrepresent it. Something again, I will come back to the original contribution. So it may look, oh, you have done a wonderful job. You, as I said, first doing something first time is not an originality. Okay, you were the first person to do certain thing in an organization, that would not make any difference, because it is the weaken. It is not about positioning; it's about applying the criteria properly, applying the showing the impact of your work. So to that extent, this question seems little infructuous to me actually. Otherwise, I think don't focus on the criteria. Okay, let's move to the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this next question will piggyback really great from the previous one. So they ask, from your experience, what mistakes do self-prepared or poorly guided EB1A candidates make that are hardest to fix later?
It's not about self-prepared. Is anybody can make that actually here. I think one can go into more granular detail. Number one, not connecting your criteria to the expertise. You just kind of, so the petition is disjointed. Okay, remember, you don't get EB1A because you fulfill the criteria. As I have been saying this, you get EB1A because of three things. Number one, you are an expert, your expertise is benefit to the US, and third is you will continue in your field of expertise. Now you have to use these 10 criteria to prove those three things. Now, how do you do it? Because your every initiative that you are talking about would kind of establish that. If you are able to do that correctly, then it will make sense. So are you able to articulate that? So I think, otherwise I think it looks very, very premature, I would say that. Oh, your expertise is going in a different direction. I did a judging. What do you mean by you did a judging? Oh, I kind of help people conduct interviews in my organization. I'm getting an X amount of salary. I did this for my company, so the company, I got the best award. And then you place that into an award. But does it show that you are an expert of an international caliber actually? Not understanding these dynamics and the need for EB1A, that why should US want you? And remember, there are 2 million people waiting for the green cards right now. Out of that, for all practical purposes, applying for EB1A is like talking to President Trump and saying that, look, give me the green card uh, because this is what I can do for the US. I'm an expert in so and so, and this is what I intend to do. It's not about saying that I fit into the criteria. So I think this is the mistake that people do actually, and this is how this poorly guided any EB1A candidates, because there is so much of information that is there right now that is very overwhelming and confusing. Okay, so let's take the last question for the day today.
Of course. So the last question is for candidates without publication or citations, what alternative pathways do you see working most consistently?
Okay, I'm not even talking of citations. Citations are not required always, actually. So tomorrow you have the best of the best peoples. I mean, let's hypothetically take uh, if Bill Gates were to apply for EB1A green card, if Steve Jobs were to apply. I mean, of course, they won't need it, but let's say hypothetically. And would they have any scientific papers or citations? No, not necessarily. Then how do you prove it? What is the impact of your work? First of all, people tend to try to do things in a very ad hoc manner, which they at the first place are not required to do. We have seen a lot of people when they think of applying for EB1A green card, they get much closer to application of their green card or applying for they realize that they are much closer to it actually. And that's the best way, is that first you have to define your expertise, then try to see what criteria would resonate with you based on the impact of your work that you have done. And then see the gaps which are there. Otherwise, what are the alternative pathways? Okay, if you're talking about original contribution, was it a white paper? Okay, but there are something like a white paper. Okay, you have done some publication, but what problem did you solve? Was that problem unique? If you can, okay, we had one particular person who got EB1A. His publication was cited in by a top renowned professor in Nature magazine actually. Now, if the work has been cited in Nature, I mean, it is as good as getting a n number of citations. One citation is good enough actually then in that case. So that's how I would like to say that. Okay, so wish you all the best, and guys, if you have any more questions, please write to us. If you are looking to join the Next League program, please contact Syria or Mario. We'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, wish you all the best and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.